Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Lindsay and this is Waldorf Inspired Roots, where we share our Waldorf inspired homeschool journey and family adventures. Today's video will be part 3 in my series of videos sharing our Waldorf inspired 10th grade curriculum choices and resources. Today, specifically, we will be covering our 3rd American History main lesson block that my son will do this upcoming school year, and it will cover primarily the Civil War. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and share and say hello down in the comments. Today's video is going to primarily cover the Civil War. That is what my son's 3rd American History main lesson block is going to primarily be about. The first book that I'm going to share with you is Everything You Need to Ace American History in One Big Fat Book. This is the complete middle school study guide. This is a series of books. There's many subjects that they have, and we personally love these books. And the reason why we love these books is because they give all the pertinent information but take out a lot of the extra details that are not necessarily as pertinent, which for my son works because he has a vocabulary recall delay, and which just means that he has a harder time, or it takes him a little longer to soak in and remember new information. Primarily through reading. He's not really, he doesn't learn that way as well. And so we like this, that it'll keep us on track, give us all the main points and all the main details, but then we can use other ways of learning to explore things deeper. So my last 2 videos were about our 1st American History block, which primarily covered colonial America, our 2nd American History block that primarily covered the American Revolution, and this one is going to primarily cover the Civil War and also westward expansion. So the way that well, the first thing I want to show you with this book, if you haven't seen my other videos, anything highlighted in yellow are vocabulary words, anything highlighted in green are definitions, anything in blue pen are important people, places, dates, and terms. I am a huge Post-it note fan, so I did go through and break up this section. Now, for our 3rd American History main lesson block, it is going to cover units 5 and 6, and so I would turn to American History 3, and here's unit 5. So unit 5, this is what it covers, but it starts with Civil War and Reconstruction. It takes us from the 1850s to the 1870s, and I'm just going to flip through just to kind of show you sort of what this is going to look like. So each unit is broken up into chapters, and at the end of each chapter there is a check your knowledge section where it asks questions, and on the reverse side of that are the answers. And we do our learning for our main lesson time together. He has a morning basket that has daily work that kind of keeps him refreshed or reviewing all of the stuff that he's already learned either the previous year or in previous main lesson blocks. And so that he does independently. Our main lesson time we do together. And so I would have this book and I would orally ask him the question, and then since we do it together, I usually already know the answer, but I will flip it over just to make sure that he is on track. And as long as he is on track, then we can move on. If not, we wouldn't move on. We would go back and review and have extra time to review for a day or 2, however long it takes. We don't move on from one thing until he's mastered it, because we, with our homeschool, use a mastery grading scale, which means that until he masters it, we don't move on from it. And that way, by the time we end this book, I know that he knows the material, and I feel confident that he has learned what he needs to learn for this. So I'm just going to keep kind of flipping through, and I'm going to flip through kind of quickly, but that's how all of the you know, all of the chapters and the units are in this book. And so there's kind of what it is. And so, you know, then when I got to the next sticky note, I would know that that is for our next unit. Let me go back and put my sticky note where I was. Now, each, this unit is going to be, or this main lesson block, rather, is going to be, I believe, 4 weeks. And so in a 4-week time, this is what we're going to cover. So it's not a ton, especially for 4 weeks, but we also only learn 4 days a week, because with this, because on Wednesdays we do a co-op and we also go to a farm that we help out on. So that is the text, so we know that we're like staying on track of what we want to learn. Apart from that, we pull in other resources, and the first type of resources that I want to share with you are reference books, or I like to think of them as like a museum in a book. And so I've got 4 here that we're going to share, or that I'm going to share with you. And the first one I actually want to share is this book, because I've already marked it. I do go through and post-it notes so I know what things I want to really cover, and what things maybe not so much. This first one is by the Smithsonian, Timelines of Everything. Now this is a general history book, and so not everything in here is pertaining to American history, but I do post a note. So like when I go, I would know that this is for American History 1, so it doesn't pertain to what we are doing. That's American History 2. So yeah, my first American History 3, it says American History 3 here, and it is the American Civil War, and it's just a timeline. So that'll be a good reference. The next page will be at the next sticky note. And this is, oh, no, that's American History 4. So the only thing for American History 3 that pertained to what we were doing in this book was this one page. So for some of the other units, there's a lot more, but for this particular unit, not so much. So we won't be using that one a whole lot this unit. The next book that I'm going to share with you is America's Monuments, Memorials, and Historic Sites. We've had this book for a very long time. My mother got it for my sister and I when we were in middle school or high school. But this is photographs from museums and reenactments and things like that from all over the country. And there's photographs and a lot of information, and I have not marked this up yet, so I don't know, you know, which main lesson blocks I'll be using what, but I did want to show you the pictures because since this is all American history related, I imagine that we'll be using quite a lot of this for our 4 main lesson blocks of American history this year. So there are gorgeous photographs. So this will be one we use quite extensively, I think. The next book that I want to share, we'll do this one first. It's by the Smithsonian. It is The Civil War, A Visual History. I have not marked this up, but since this is specifically the Civil War, it is one that I imagine will be another one that we use very extensively for this unit study or main lesson block in particular. So it is very thick, as you can tell. And I'm just going to flip through because there's a lot to get through. I notice my videos have a tendency to be a little bit longer than I'd like them to be, but when you have so much information going on, it's hard to cut them down, but I am trying to get better at it, so I apologize if any of my videos have seemed long so far. I will try to make this one not as long. So that's some of the photographs. I am flipping through pretty fast, but again, this is a very great reference book for this unit, and it looks like there is a lot of information, so this will be one that we use pretty much every day, I think, for this unit. The next one is Civil War Battles and Leaders. It is by DK, which is the publisher that also does the Smithsonian books, so I imagine it'll be pretty good as well. My husband already had this book, and so I haven't personally gone through it yet, but it looks like it'll be just another really great reference for us for the Civil War. So those are all of the reference books we'll be using for this unit. Now the next type of resources I want to cover are picture books. We always try to pull in a few picture books in each of our main lesson blocks for every subject, and my reasoning for that is because it's a way to get a good example of, you know, something, but it's usually simplified because they're typically written for young children, or older children sometimes too. But I love picture books, and I also love books that, like this one in particular, was written for children. This one in particular is called Henry's Freedom Box, A True Story from the Underground Railroad, which we will be covering extensively this unit as well. As you can see my sticky notes in the beginning, this is so I know where I wanted to use this. It makes it easier for me. I will flip it going this way. We haven't read this yet. It is a Caldecott honor book. And so the Caldecott honor books were for illustrations. And as I would expect, the illustrations are amazing. Now, this is a book that we can read in I say one day, but as our opener for one day. We use read-alouds, games, pretty much read-alouds and games as our main things that we open our main lesson time with. This would be one that would just take us, you know, a very short time, which is another plus to picture books in general, is that they are usually a quick read. You know, these type of books in general, they're a quick read, and so you can get through them quickly. It gives you a good simplified sense of you know, whatever you're learning about, and it's engaging. It has beautiful illustrations, and because I also have a 2.5-year-old, and I also have a preschool you know, group of kids that I teach, this is one that even while I'm reading to my 15-year-old, the preschool aged kids will be able to sit and listen to the story as well. And even though, you know, I'm not aiming for them to get out of it, you know, specifically what I am, my 15-year-old, they all can listen, they all will be engaged, and they all can enjoy it also. So that is always a win in my book. So I'm just going to kind of quickly flip through. Wow, these illustrations are gorgeous. The text, again, very simple. My 2.5-year-old will absolutely love this book as well. And these illustrations, I for sure see why it got the Caldecott honor. These illustrations are absolutely amazing. Oh, the detail. I love this. I am already in love with this book. Now, I haven't read it, so I hope the story, I'm sure it is, but I hope the story is as amazing as these illustrations are. And there you go. Absolutely wonderful. Okay, so there's that. The next one is not quite the same as that type of, you know, young children's book, but it is, oh, you know what? With this one, I did tell you the author. It's Henry's Freedom Box, but I did not tell you. It is written by Ellen Levine. I will link everything down below so that you can find it. This one is Black Elk's Vision, a Lakota Story by S.D. Nelson. And this, I'm just going to kind of reference the back because I kind of forgot a little bit. But it says, told from the Native American point of view, Black Elk's Vision provides a unique perspective on American history. Black Elk, from 1863 to 1950, was a Lakota Oglala medicine man and a cousin of Crazy Horse. This biographical account follows him from childhood through adulthood, recounting the visions he had as a young boy and describing his involvement in the battles of Little Bighorn and Wounded Knee, as well as his journeys to New York City and Europe with Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. So that is, you know, what this is. And I did flip through it, and I love that they have actual photographs, and they have quotes as well on some of the pages. They do tell you what the photograph is, which is very helpful. There's not, so I mean, overall I would say there's not that much text here. It is for sure not one that I think my 2.5-year-old or the the preschool age. My preschool age kids go up to age 5, so it's not one that they for sure I don't think will sit through all of this. But it is still short enough that we can get through this in. I mean, we might break it up a day or two of our opening read aloud part. I mean, it's definitely more than the other picture book, but it's not that much either. It'll be good. So there's some of those illustrations. I'm just kind of flipping ahead a little bit. Illustrations and pictures. So that will be a great addition. Now, I did talk about this in my last video, so I'm going to keep it short. This is Keys of History. We will be using this for every unit study or main lesson block that we do. This is the Keys of History. It is the year 1 history course game from The Good and the Beautiful. We don't use their curriculum anymore for history. We do use it for science, but we don't use it for history specifically because it is a year-long course and we like to do unit studies. Their science curriculum choices or options are unit studies, so we love those. But anyways, this is the game, and you can buy it separately. But it is world history and U.S. history, and the way that their history courses work is that they start at the beginning of history and or the beginning of recorded history, and they take you through more current history every year, but they stop in different places. And so wherever the year 1 history course stopped, that's mainly what they're talking about in here. But he did world history this year for 9th grade, and he's doing U.S. history for 10th grade, which is this upcoming school year. So the things that are world history will just be a review, and the things for U.S. history will be new to him. We have played this game before, so even though it'll be new to him as far as the U.S. history parts of it, he does know some of the answers to these because we have played this game before, but he'll actually be playing this game and learning more in-depth history about this, so it'll be great. So you would roll the dice, move your piece, and there's the little guys here, and then I'm just going to kind of show you some of the pictures, but it's all people from history or like the French and Indian War, so people, places, events, things like that from world and American history. And it on the back, like whatever one you land on, you would find the coordinating card, and on the back it has, I believe, 3 for everyone. Yeah, 3 questions, and you can opt to read 1. You could say, okay, this game we're going to read questions 1. When you play again, you could say, okay, today we're doing the second questions, and so on. Or you can make it a longer game, and they have to answer all 3 questions correctly, and you see how many cards you can get before a time limit. There's different ways to play, and it does give you some of the game instructions on different variations on how to play this. So that is that game, and this is the only game we have for this unit. I wasn't able to I wanted to get the Professor Noggins. I believe they have a Civil War card game, and it's been out of stock forever. They have one for the American Revolution. They actually have one for U.S. history in general also, but all of the Professor Noggin card games, unfortunately, I just have not been able to acquire so far. But if I'm able to before we do the unit, then I'm definitely going to continue to try, and I'll link them below too. I've seen them on several channels, and I'm really hoping that we can get them. So the next thing that I want to talk about are projects. I have 2 project books. One is, and they're both they have different authors, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, they are the same publisher, the same series or whatnot. So we've got, I could be wrong on that though, but this is the Underground Railroad for Kids from Slavery to Freedom with 21 activities. This one is the Civil War for Kids, a history with 21 activities. Again, they are 2 different authors, but I will link them below. And we have several books that are, I believe, all part of this series. I think it's a series. So it does have quite an extensive amount of history. So this says, let's see, this is the first project. It says print a dinkra cloth. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I do apologize if I'm not. It tells you what you need. It gives you a little bit of information, and then it tells you, how to do the project. So, and then we've got more history. It talks about people as well, and I think that's what all of these are, which, yeah, Heroes from Freedom. That's so wonderful. I'm glad that there's a good amount of people, highlights of important people. And so here's that, and then we've got homemade hoe cakes. It talks, again, it gives you a little bit of information about what this is, the supplies you'll need, and then the instructions. So, we'll see how many things we can get through. We might do several projects a day. We love projects in our house. It kind of brings the learning to life when you do projects. So just kind of quickly flip through. There you go. Okay, so the next one is the Civil War for Kids, and it's set up the same way. And so I'm just gonna kind of flip through. I might stop at one or two of the projects, just to kind of give you an idea of what those projects kind of are. So a North Star safe quilt. I'm not really sure what that is, but it gives you information on it. So we'll definitely read that, what you need. And then we've got create a code. Oh, and that's cipher square. That's interesting. A soldier's uniform. Drill exercises. Play the bones. Oh, I think, is that if a soldier didn't have a musical instrument to play, he could easily make one from that day's dinner. Oh, that's right. From like chicken bones or whatnot. Okay, that's gonna be a fun project. Yeah, so that's that book. Okay, the last thing that we're gonna talk about are chapter books. So we have two that we're gonna read this unit, and I do like to mix easier and harder books. Neither of these are actually too hard. This one's lengthier. This one is very short. But this one is by Gary Paulson, and the reason why I chose this, first of all, is because it's relevant to, the unit. But all of these are obviously, but it's by Gary Paulson, and my son's absolute favorite book of all time that he's read a million times is Hatchet, and he's read the whole. There's actually several books in that. There's a series of books that are with Hatchet. So same author, and so I know he's going to like this, and I believe there is a sequel to this called Sarnie. And it's about the little girl and her life after this book. And if he likes this book, we'll probably pick that one up. And because this is such a quick read, we'll probably be able to read it also. And I'll link both of those below, this one and Sarnie. But yeah, so there aren't pictures really. At the beginning there is. I don't think that there's really any pictures, but this book is literally going to take us a matter of days to read. It's very short. But I remember reading this when I was younger, and this is a very, very, very good book. I like this book. But again, it'll take days. So this is the main chapter book that we're going to read, that'll take us more time. This one is a lot thicker. And this is Chains by Lori Hulse Anderson. This one is it is a National Book Award finalist. And I don't know, let me see if I can find, I'm not entirely sure what this one is about. This one is new to us. We haven't read it. When I looked online and I was looking at, historical fiction books, this one just kept getting recommended to read during, this time period or for this time period. And so I did go ahead and pick it up. You can kind of see the text is a lot smaller. This one is going to take us longer to read for my son in particular, because we're going to do it as a read aloud at the beginning of our unit. I don't know, I'd say maybe a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, depending on how much we read each day. So that is all the material for this unit that we're going to cover. My next video that I will be filming and posting will be our last American history main lesson block, and it will be primarily the 2 world wars and the Great Depression, and then we'll get through as much of more current history as we can. Whatever we don't get to this year, whatever I feel like we need to elaborate more on, we can always do another quicker main lesson or an expansion main lesson during his 11th grade school year, or even during the summer. We don't necessarily stop our homeschool for summer. We definitely have a lot less going on, but we still do things throughout the summer. I think learning is a constant thing, and I don't think we don't necessarily take a summer break. We do go on a lot of vacations in the summer, so we will break for those, and we do have it be a lot lighter, but we do keep going for the summer. So but anyways, I hope you liked this video. I hope you saw some things that maybe you can use for upcoming unit studies or main lesson blocks that you guys are planning for your kiddos. And oh yeah, and then I also wanted to say that after my next video, which is going to be the last American history one, I'm also going to be doing our curriculum choices for the other main lesson blocks that we're doing, and those include geometry, chemistry, geology, a creative writing course, Spanish. I believe that those are the main ones. And then I'll also do a video that is going to show what is in my son's morning basket, which is his daily work, and that's his independent work. And so I'll do a video showing what is in that. So I hope you liked the video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe and share, and we'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.